everybody. Just welcome to the fourth session. I'd just like to say, please message pics of your artwork and save your artwork for our Show Me Your Wall exhibition next week. And I just want to give credit to Nikki Dinky Cooking from Instagram, Nikkidinki Cooking. And she has the hand when she makes her videos, they just kind of come out, and she does all this cooking. But it's great because it's there, okay? So I'm just going to put them here, and hopefully I remember to show you again later. So Katie is taking over the chair. Can you check to make sure that this is all going well? On yours? On your phone? Oh, awesome. Thanks. All right, so welcome to our fourth session. Let's just do a quick recap of last week, and then we'll start this week. So last week we looked at Jackson Pollock, and the paint was probably so thick on the paper that it probably just dried this morning, because I know it took mine a long time to dry from the drip paintings. And then how does that differ from Helen Frankenthaler is we poured the work. We poured paint for her. So hers was thinned out, and it absorbed a little more into the paper. And then we also looked at Bob Blackburn. Kitty, come on. And I think I mentioned what a monotype was and a monoprint, but I never defined it. So this is a monotype. A monotype is one in the world. And so we kind of, let's see, it's the mirror image. So this went this way, and we pulled it off, and we didn't print any more from here. And a monoprint is in a series where you kind of have a matrix, and you can rework the plate, and you can make a couple of prints. We also made a ghost print, which is when the ink or the paint on the plate is it's used, and so the next image, the next print that you make, it's going to be faded because there's not the strength from the original print, and you should definitely see the difference. Okay, so now, what do we got going on for today? We have Wayne Tebow, Roy Lichtenstein, and Gerhard Richter. Okay. So here's our Wayne Tebow, right? And Wayne Tebow, just makes you hungry, this stuff. So Wayne Tebow was a league artist, and he's from California, and he's best known for his luscious paintings of food. And I think that's perfect for Memorial Day weekend when we have barbecues and meals with family and friends. Maybe this year might be a little different, but hopefully there's some kind of special food in there somewhere. So he made paintings that had a lot with like pies and cakes and watermelons and candy. So this is his work of candy. I don't know if you could see with this in the way. These are just candies. And so today you're going to grab something to eat, something that you have in your house to eat, and we're going to make a drawing and a painting just like Wayne Tebow. So I started yesterday, last night. Kitty wants to be in the show so bad because she isn't sitting on the chair where I leave all of my papers. So last night I made my kind of example of Wayne Tebow's work, and I only had a pair. And my son, who's a toddler, you can't leave anything on the table because he came and he took a bite of it already. So then this morning, I really wanted to look at the Wayne Tebow, the watermelon. I thought that was kind of really, a pear is not so much Memorial Day weekend, but maybe a watermelon is. So I had to run to the supermarket this morning, and I picked up my watermelon. Here's my watermelon. Okay? So I'm going to make a drawing, which I did previously. I'm going to make a drawing of my watermelon, and you can make a drawing of whatever you have at home. It can be a candy. It can be a cupcake. He did cupcakes. He did candy. It could be a banana. It could be a bag of chips. It could be a chip that you sort of just ate. It could be a couple of chips on the table. Any kind of food. So if you don't have a watermelon like I didn't have a watermelon last night, just grab whatever you have and make a drawing. So here is my drawing of a watermelon. I'm going to go real quick. And voila, there's my watermelon drawing very, very quickly. Now, you can, to paint this, you can use your watercolors. You can use your tempera paint. And if you don't have those, you can use the food coloring with the water. That works, stains, but be careful. Or you can use, what else? Markers, for sure. And you could use crayons. So here, I just have my watercolors. And I don't think I've actually kind of really done watercolor painting, but I see this a lot in the classroom all the time. So children get their watercolor, and for some reason, they think this is how we paint. And they always hit the brush on the top of the container. And you don't need to. You can just go gently on the side like that, and then so you pick a color. So my watermelon, I'm going to get some kind of red, and I'm going to throw it in there kind of quickly. And something about the watercolor paint. So if you're working, all the children out there, if you're working on with the watercolor paint and it's not moving around, you never have to kind of dig into your watercolors ever. If the paint is not transferring from the cassette, the palette, if it's not transferring from here to your work, you usually just need a little more water. If you have a little more water, then everything will move smoothly. But something about watercolors is if you have two pieces, two colors that are next to each other and they're both wet, they're going to kind of like blend into each other. So I want to show you that part. I want to show you how they kind of can blend. And if they do blend like that, you can just take your paper towel and you can clean that part up. The paper will be stained, but for the most part, you can this is your eraser when it comes to watercolor. You can use paper towel on there, just like that, and then you can go back and repaint it. And I just did it. Okay. Do as I say and not as I do out there. Okay. So my watermelon, and so when I did the pears and I made 3 of them, by the time I got to painting my 3rd pear, it just felt, I was just kind of bored a little bit. So if that happens to you and you just want to make one, then just make one piece of watermelon or one drawing of a candy. Like whatever you want to do, you're the boss. Wayne Tebow was the boss of this area in the world. And you're the boss, I'm the boss of this, and you're the boss of yours. So parents, please, if you want to make changes in a painting, then you can start a painting too and make all the changes you want, and then just let the kids, let them work. Just let them work. Even if it goes off the paper, it's okay, right? So that's our Wayne Tebow. Oh, I'm done with this too. Now, we need a little time for Roy Lichtenstein. So here's our Roy Lichtenstein. We need a little bit of time for him because it gets really exciting. And I don't know if you've been watching Nickelodeon Junior, but if you've been watching that channel, some of the ads, like with Ryan, it's Ryan, you remember the name?
Toy Reviews.
Toy Review, Ryan's Toy Review. Right now, they have these ads running that have like these pop-up, these bright colored, they pop right and they explode right onto the screen. Well, I think they took a page from this artist, Mr. Roy Lichtenstein. He's a native New Yorker, and he was a pop artist. So what's a pop artist? A pop artist is an artist who used popular things for the subject of their paintings. So what kind? Okay, so maybe things from TV, maybe celebrities, maybe fast food, maybe comics. But all of this work was done in the 1960s. So what popular art or pop art might look like now would maybe have something with a hashtag where there was no Instagram in the 1960s. There weren't even cell phones yet. So today we are going to look at his bright and bold paintings of comic strip cartoons, and his use of onomatopoeia. I love that word. Onomatopoeias. What are those? I got a bunch of them for you. Onomatopoeia is a word that actually looks like the sound it makes. We can almost hear the sound as we read it. And if you can't read yet, then maybe an adult can help you. And I think there is a link that Rudy's going to put underneath in the comment section right now about the old Batmans, the Batmans with Adam West. They would have like always in the fight scenes, and then they would always have like, let me see, oh, I have 2 of those. Okay, so but maybe like in Batman, when something would blow up, it would go boom. That's an onomatopoeia word. Let me get out of the way a little bit. Okay, so there's boom. And when 2 things like a car bangs into each other, crash. These are a lot with comic books and with Nickelodeon Jr. for sure. And I don't know, last night I must have been out of my mind because I made 2 zaps. Zap, zap. Maybe something with electricity, like a lightning bolt coming down. Zap. And the comics used to have like these kind of bubbles around the words. And so Roy Lichtenstein, beep, he put these kind of triangle bubbles. They weren't, sometimes they were circles, but when he wanted to like emphasize the sound, he made these big triangles, like pop. So, in 1966, April 25th, 1966, this was on the cover of Newsweek. So the artwork, Roy Lichtenstein's artwork is this part, and then the cover of the magazine was this with pop. So the idea is we're going to pick one of these onomatopoeia words, and you're going to write it kind of in the center of your paper. I'm pretending I'm writing because I did it already. And then you can draw kind of all these triangles around. And then you can draw more longer triangles. Do you see these kind of, how these are kind of extra special? Because there's not so many, and it's a different color, so they stand out more, so you can change the color that you're using. Same thing for this project. You can use watercolor, you can use your tempera, you can use your markers, you can use your crayons. But as if you've noticed, the work that I'm doing, I'm not making full sheets of paper worth of work. I'm making half sheets because I think if you have a larger surface, you work with a larger brush. If you have a smaller surface, you work with a smaller tool. So the smaller tool could be markers. If markers is all you have, and you're trying to cover the entire paper, your hand it might get a little tired before you're finished. So if you use a half sheet, you might stay engaged. You might want to finish it, and the idea is that you finish it. I've been asked so many times during school, is this done yet? Is it finished yet? Is this good enough yet? Yeah, it's great when it's done. So try and finish the work, and especially because we have an exhibition coming, Show Me Your Wall. So I think last night what I did, I could take this one down. Was I painted colors, and then I just outlined in marker. If you want to outline in marker, you're going to have to use a permanent marker, because if you use Crayola marker, sometimes the marker kind of gets a little willy-nilly. And if you want that, then that's a great technique, and so you have that option. Okay, awesome. All right, so those are our onomatopoeias. Let me clean this up. Sorry. Okay, now the next artist can be a little messy, but I really, really enjoy his technique. Now, I think down below Rudy has another link of watching Gerhard Richter. He is our next artist, Gerhard Richter. And what he did was he kind of like applied paint, and then he kind of like just dragged like a big, big squeegee. And it's really mesmerizing to watch him work, because you just kind of see things moving slowly across the canvas, and then he'll stop, and then he moves again, and he drags paint again. And so Gerhard Richter is a German artist who has many artworks, and we are going to explore his dragging, scraping technique. The link that Rudy has posted, or you can Google about him. He has work at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Met Brewer, from March 4th, 2020, and the closing date is to be announced. You could see the work online because everything is closed right now. So I thought that possibly for, before we get there, sorry. So here, see how he's like, it's huge, and he just drags this across, and it reveals the colors that are the layers that are underneath. So we're going to try and drag some paint for a little bit. So I thought, because of Memorial Day weekend, that we would take a look at the American flag. This guy here. So the American flag has 13 horizontal stripes, 7 red, 6 white. The stripes are for the 13 original colonies, and the stars represent the 50 states of the Union. Over the years, when I have been teaching for anything, if we looked at Jasper Johns or any kind of work that had American flags, sometimes when you make a flag, it can be complicated to, I've seen kids get a little frustrated when they're trying to make the straight lines, and if they're not straight, or all of these stars. That's a lot of stars, and how do you paint and make that? You cut them out, but nobody really wants to cut out 50 stars. Maybe somebody does. I'm not one of those people. I don't think I have the patience to do it. So then I thought, well, what about if we try to do like a Gerhard Richter kind of way, where it's the impression of a flag, but not the commitment of trying to make something ever so perfect. Like when you think about these flags, that they're all stitched together. The seamstress's machine is making this, and it's difficult to kind of make all of this out of paint, especially if you're 5 to 8 years old, plus or minus a few years. So I thought, let's have a little freedom. So what I did was, again, I have a half sheet of the watercolor paper taped to kind of just the printing paper. See, Rox? Printing paper. And I have my tempera paint, the white, the red, and the blue. And I have just a regular kind of paper plate here. So I'm just going to add a little bit of the red, and this would be blue, a little bit of blue, a little bit of red, okay, and a little bit of white. But before I do that, please, I remembered, artwork Save your artwork for the exhibition. And please send us images of your artwork. I would love to see what you're making. It's just me and Chris and Kitty in the dining room here, and I don't know what anybody's doing out there. So please, if you could share some of your images, that would just be wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so I have a brush here. Now, when you're working with white, red, and blue, blue is like a very strong color. Red is also strong, maybe not as strong as blue, that I'm finding with these temper paints. Your paints, it could be, the red could be stronger than the blue, I don't know. And the white gets into everything. So I'm going to kind of make a flag, or the impression of a flag. And when you put the paint down, kind of make it a little thick, because if it's so thin and it dries, then you're not going to be able to really drag it anywhere. So there's my blue. I have my water. Stick it in there. Okay. I'm going to look at the flag now. We got red stripes on the top and the bottom if you're interested. If not, just kind of, if you want to make some stripes, go right ahead. Not being really very precise about this. Okay, wash my brush. And then I'm going to add my white. And this is not the end here. We're going to kind of drag it, and then we can make some new decisions. What are we dragging with? I have this spatula, which works. I have just kind of foam core, or you can have just regular cardboard. And I kind of made like another paper plate that I've cut. I did make sure that this line was straight, because I put this over, I traced it, and then I cut it. And I put little slits in the sides so it kind of moves a little bit. All right, so now I'm just going to drag the work. And when I drag it, I learned that if I pushed too hard, then it kind of took all the paint off. But if I just kind of, it's like Goldilocks again. A little too hard, you're going to take the paint off. A little too soft, you're not going to move the paint. So you got to find somewhere right in the middle, and that's just through trial and error. So you make one, you figure it out, and then you can learn the freedoms and limitations of what you're doing, and then you can do another one, and then hopefully that's to your liking. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of drag like he did. And I dragged. Okay, but what if I want to add a little more paint someplace? Yeah, why not? So, what if I want to put maybe like a couple of white indications of stars, just a few, and see what that happens. And maybe to get a little kind of white. Now, if you keep dragging your red and your blue and your white, and you just keep going again, you're just going to end up making purple. And it might be the best purple you've ever made. So go too far. And, oh, look, it might be, Chris just pointed out, it might be this purple of the water. Yeah. When I used the spatula and I dragged it, like I said, the first time I pushed down really hard and it just took all the paint away. So maybe if I could work vertically and you could see it. Like, I'm just going to kind of let it. And it's really wild, like how it just kind of blends together. So it reminded me of maybe a print, more than a painting. Okay. Oh, and there's tape back there. Okay. And there's our dragging like Gerhard, Richter. I also did, because I was talking about the purple and because I just kind of liked dragging, I have to admit, I absolutely abandoned the idea of making a flag. I got 5 minutes, okay. I abandoned the idea of making a flag, and maybe because it was just kind of leftover paint, I just put kind of just like little blobs. I'm going to clean for the white. I put blobs. And then I just kept dragging because I don't know, it's just kind of wild to see. And sometimes, like, if you start collecting so much paint there, you can use that paint where you don't have any paint and see what happens. Now this works better flat. This works better if I'm working this way, but I think you could see it better if I'm working vertically. Wild. And then I can take it, that was going horizontally, but now I can work vertically. And I can move it. And I can actually scrape into it. What does that look like? Look at that. So as you could see, when I'm working, and I do this with all of my projects, I'm always kind of asking myself, well, what if I tried this? And what if I tried that? And the beautiful thing about art is, instead of us talking about it, it's very different when I see it. I could say, well, maybe it'll stain the paper, maybe it'll come off the edge of the paper, all of these things, but you don't know until you actually try. So when I try, when I push down hard, then I know. Then I have all of this paint here. But what if I got this paint and I just transferred it to a blank sheet of paper? Now what would happen? Oh, now I think I'm just getting the purple. That's kind of wild too. This is like, it goes back into the color field of just color being put down. I think it's more subtle. Okay, so sorry. This one here. So this was when I applied the paint by brush, and then this is when I just used the spatula and I transferred the paint. So it becomes kind of more blended, and this one's more separate, and I don't know, I don't have to choose which one I like more or less. Right now, I just have to kind of experience things and learn from what this one does and learn from what the spatula did. Okay, so I think that's about all of the time we have today, by the time I kind of think up. Okay, so just a reminder, if you would like to participate in a moment of silence for all the fallen men and women across the nation, the time is 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and the date is tomorrow on Memorial Day on May 25th. And to all the Gold Star families, I would like to extend my gratitude for your loss. And to all the children in those families, I just want to send you a huge virtual hug. So that concludes our class, I think. So here we go. Let me just finish this. I would like to say thank you for participating and watching. Please save your work, and please message us pictures of your work. You can message right on Facebook. Just take a picture and send the image right in a direct message. And next week is our exhibition, Show Us Your Wall, just like the New York Times. Next week, we're going to learn about Gertrude Stein and her salon, how she invited all these artists over to her house, and they all looked at work. And I will kind of teach you some ways on how to curate your work. Curate means how do you choose the work that's going to be in the show. Just because I made even 3 pieces just now while you were here with me doesn't mean that all 3 of these pieces get to be in the show. So how do you decide which ones go in the show, which ones don't? So we can talk about that next week. And then I'll give options about how to hang your work in your house. We don't want holes in the walls and a bunch of nails. So maybe I'll just give you some options for next week. And thank you for your time. I hope you all have a safe Memorial Day and enjoy your family and friends. Thank you. Bye-bye.